In order to be functionally independent, that's one of the things that you have to be really good at, is getting on and off the floor without using equipment.
Right.
And so for most of your life, especially if you're an athlete, that was a movement pattern that you had mastered really well. So once you learn the movement pattern, it's always there. You don't lose it. So it's like riding a bike. You may be wobbly when you get back on, but eventually if you do it enough, your body will pick it back up.
Yeah, and because you've improved strength in places you weren't expecting to, the stability is there because you're not feeling like your body can't hold you.
Exactly. Yes, it's more of a, with those functional things, it's definitely a use it or lose it type of thing.
Oh boy, today we're going to be discussing physical, what's the best way to put it? I have a personal trainer and he's joining us. And I got to tell you, he is probably the smartest personal trainer I've ever had because he really understands by asking me a lot of questions. And I think he's going to really get us going on the topic of physical health when it comes to senior citizens and what we can do to improve ourselves. So stick around. We're going to have a lively conversation, and Andre's a really great guy, and he's going to kick your butt over the phone as well as he kicks my butt like he did today in the gym. I'm just kidding, of course, but it's going to be a great time. Stick around. Good afternoon or morning or whenever you're listening, and welcome to the Living Well and Aging Smart podcast. This is the podcast for seniors who might be in the transition of life right now, and I'm hoping that if you are, that maybe we can get through it with some wisdom and maybe some purpose, and hopefully most of all a sense of humor, right? I'm Mitchell Schwartz, broker salesman's license 19845, Keller Williams The Marketplace here in Las Vegas. I'm a certified senior advisor. I'm a senior real estate specialist, and I'm a certified aging in place specialist by the National Home Builders Association. And we're going to be bringing things from week to week, time to time, about housing, about relieving stress, about avoiding scams, about being connected to a community and staying safe. All the things that matter to all of us as seniors. Each week, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into one of these topics. And they matter to all of us because I know they matter to you, they matter to me, they matter to my family. These are things like aging in place. They're about navigating life's transitions as they show up. It's about protecting your legacy. And yes, guess what? From time to time, we'll talk about real estate. Why? Because that's a topic of big discussion. A lot of people have questions. I want to make sure you have the right answers to make the choices when the time comes for your best interest. See, this isn't about sales. This is about insights. It's about stories. It's about bringing solutions to you with professionals who are local to the Vegas Valley, who care about our community. And we're going to do this together here. Now, all I can say is thanks for being here. Stick around. Let's watch this video together and let's learn what we can learn and hopefully live our best life possible. So let's get rocking.
Okay.
Maybe pull that just a little bit closer because even though it's sensitive, it's not perfect there.
Okay.
So Andre, thank you for being here. And what everybody doesn't know is Andre Tate is in fact my personal trainer. Yeah. And being an old guy that I am, I thought, you know what? My clients need to know about what it takes to be, I hasten to say that we're physically fit. I think it's more fit for the rest of your life. Because you know me, I didn't hire you to have you go like this. I hired you for an accountability and an education.
Right.
Okay, and we'll talk about that a bit because I think that's what keeps people from going is one, accountability, not having somebody to hold them accountable to going. And I think two, they're fearful because they don't know how to use the equipment. They're concerned. I certainly made it real clear I don't want to use it wrong because being over 60, I could hurt myself. Right. And that is not something I want to do. I've done enough of that already. So we'll talk about that. But what I think I've done so far with a lot of people is I say, hey, where'd you come from? Why'd you come to Vegas? What'd you do before? Why'd you get into what you're doing? And I think that kind of helps people understand who you are. So feel free to share.
Okay. Well, I started out my life as a physical therapist. I graduated from Rockhurst College in Kansas City, and I had about 25 years of experience in physical therapy, primarily working with geriatric population, and I also did a lot of orthopedic rehab, so a lot of post-surgery things, so post-knee replacements, post-reconstruction, shoulder surgeries, just about everything.
Wow. So geriatric is what you specialize in. It isn't funny how we came into contact with one another.
Right, because my big focus when I was in physical therapy was getting people to return to activity. So, so one of the things that they would do is they come into the orthopedist office and it's like, yeah, I had this knee surgery done a few years ago. I like to ski and I still can't ski. I can do everything else, but I still can't ski. So it became my job to basically focus them on getting back to function so that they can actually go do the things that they want to do.
Sure, that's fantastic. So you went to school for it, you started doing it, you were in Kansas City. So what brought you to Vegas? Oh, well, let me ask you this, because you have a storied history a little bit in Kansas City. What'd you do there outside? Where'd you move from the normal physical therapy? What'd you do after that?
So for a hot minute, I worked with the Kansas City Royals as a rehab specialist. So basically, we would go to these, they basically called them baseball team conferences. So what the orthopedic physicians would do is get all the trainers together and they would host at one of the major league ballparks. And the first one I went to was at Camden Yards in Baltimore. And actually that was the year that they started doing Tommy John surgery.
Oh, wow.
So we went over all the rehab protocols for that. I met some of the trainers for the Royals there. So then I actually started doing some work with them.
That is some serious career extension work that they do there.
Yeah.
But you got to rehab properly. I mean, we're watching like players who, there's been plenty who've come in and they're just in such a hurry to get back on the mound. They make it worse for themselves. The ones who really pace themselves, i.e. Tommy John, who it's named after, actually got back in and was, in some cases, better pitching than he was before he started. So
yeah, that's the hard thing because baseball players are so superstitious, and so getting someone that's been successful since they were 12 or 13 years old to change their pitching mechanics in order to save their shoulder or their elbow, it's a really hard sell.
Yeah, I imagine
and
it is.
Not very many guys are able to. They're better now than they were before because now the fitness part of it and the exercise part of it is quite a bit more popular than it was back in those days.
And they're not putting the strain on the part of their body. They can't take the strain because they're changing the format,
Right, and basically what we're doing is basically getting them to pitch and function in a way where everything is stable.
Yeah.
And this, obviously translates to everyone in the population because we all have the same issues. It's just what level of work we're having to do.
Sure. So what brought you to Vegas after doing that?
So prior to being here, I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was working at a orthopedic place there, and we decided to move to Vegas. And then when I got here, I was all set up for a PT job. How it works in physical therapy is every place you've been licensed, that state has to report to the new state that you're getting a license in. So my licensing was delayed from Florida specifically. So I ended up working at a gym doing personal training, just waiting until my license got issued, and then I just
You like that better?
there. Yeah, I just stayed there. I kept doing it. So
well, that's good. Yeah, I think people who are going through PT versus people who hire you for personal training, there's a want versus a need, and I think of people who want to do it are going to be committed. People who have to do it are going to feel pigeonholed and maybe not so much.
Exactly, and and it's so important to catch you early while we can still correct the dysfunctions before the joints start breaking down, because at the end of the day, when you are rehabbing after you've had surgery, you have to be really comfortable with exercise because it takes a lot. And so if I have a history of never exercising, rehabbing after a total hip or a total knee replacement, super difficult.
Yeah, that's why I would think if you think you've got that planned, there might be some things you could do in advance of that. I mean, so what, I think that's a great place we could take, because a lot of my viewers are people who are going to be maybe considering or thinking that they're going to need surgery of some sort down the road.
Right.
What kinds of things would you recommend that they do in preparation for that?
The number one thing is to figure out how your movement is. So, and I always like to look at little functional tests that you can do to kind of see where you are. So my favorite one is if you're walking for a mile, you should be able to walk a mile comfortably, depending on your age group. So if you're, let's say, 70 to 79, you should be able to walk that mile in about 18 minutes.
Oh, you mean you're not running it in 3?
Right, exactly. So no sprinting, and you're not straining. So you're just on a conversational pace and you're just walking. You're not trying to walk fast. You're not really keeping track of the time, but that tells me a lot about how functional you are and how efficient your movement is.
Yeah, because if you're huffing and puffing or you're laboring or you feel like lots of pain like in your knee or your joint, then that's going to tell you what's going to need to be done. And since most of my clients are older, I think this is very helpful. So it would be advisable for them to connect with you or somebody like you to say, you know what, why don't we do a little bit of pre-surgery planning?
Right. Yeah, because number one, if you go into the rehab kind of knowing and understanding what the exercise component is going to be, it's easier. So one of my favorite things to do for prehab is to basically teach the type of exercises that you're going to be doing so that you become proficient at it before you've had the surgery.
Yeah.
So now afterwards you're not trying to learn the surgery while you have a new joint because...
And dealing with the pain that's going to keep you from doing it, you're going to understand why you're having the pain, what's causing it, and more importantly, the things that you're doing to kind of gradually work through that and eliminate it as much as you can.
Exactly. And we're working on cleaning up your movement patterns so that post-surgery, you're not working on that part.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the reasons why I asked you in here is obviously when we started working together about 6 weeks ago, it was real important for me to understand how to use the equipment. And I know with talking to a lot of my clients, people are not my clients, when I just say that I'm going to the gym, they look at me like a deer in the headlights. Because that equipment, I got to tell you, it's pretty intimidating if you've never used it before. And I grew up playing football, right? And we used to use a lot, it was mostly free weights and stuff when I was a kid because we couldn't afford all that stuff and a lot of it wasn't even around. But just looking at it, not knowing the proper movements, and so we spend a lot of time, especially at the front end, of making sure that when I'm using the equipment, I'm using it so I get the maximum benefit because I'm using it right. Talk to me about your mindset about how that works with, say, an older person. Say they go to sit in, say the calf thing is the one with me because it's not a knee thing, it's an ankle thing, and we always instinctively go to the knees because that's the easier joint that we're used to using, and I realize that. But talk to me about how you approach that so they hear it.
Okay, so essentially what I like to do with exercise is to make sure that you're maintaining proper posture. And so we have to set the machine at the right level so that you can sit with proper alignment. And then the other part of that is modifying the range of motion at the beginning, especially so that you can do the motion in a joint protective way.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll see people doing the motion really fast, ballistically, they're straining, they're wiggling around in the seat, and all those things will take the stress away from the muscle and put it on the joint.
Which is not what you want to do.
Right, because once you're over 50, you have to be really careful, and you have the assumption that you have some joint damage already. And so loading a joint with weight is going to make your joint damage worse.
Yeah.
So I like people to, when they're exercising, to feel a lot of burning, and I'm done with my set because my muscles are burning a lot.
Yeah, and we talk about that throughout the workout, right? Because you're asking me how my muscles are feeling, and you're also asking me about how my joints are feeling to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And I like that because not only do I get to watch you do it, you stand there right next to me and you're instructing me to make sure that I'm sitting up properly. I'm holding the thing the way I need to be holding, so I'm maximizing the value of the... Because if you're going to spend the time doing it, why would you want to do it half-assed?
Right. And if you do it correctly, it actually becomes really efficient, so you can get a lot done in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is to get the muscles to do the driving with the exercise, because metabolically that's going to give you all the things you need for your body to stay healthy and stay young as long as possible.
Yeah, I learned that, at least prior to us getting together, because I did my research, I want to make sure I at least was a good student, that it's not a matter of just going through the motions. It's literally, I'm sure you've noticed it, I do my best to go slow and be very purposeful about how I'm doing the things. And I think if you're going to hire Andre, especially, I think paying very close attention to what he is saying, not what you think to be true.
Right, and I like purposeful because you basically want to be aware of what you're doing while you're exercising. And for us as humans, it takes about 5,000 repetitions to unlearn a bad movement pattern and relearn a new one.
Right.
So now when you're exercising, I want to make sure that you're sitting with the proper posture because that all ties into those 5,000 reps.
Yeah.
And now if I have a lifestyle where I'm out walking and I'm active, now those reps actually will multiply.
Yeah, there's such a thing as muscle memory, and that's what
Exactly.
you're training at that point.
Exactly.
And some of our muscle memory happens to be here, and some of us don't exercise it very well. But I'd say muscle memory is certainly important. And because you understand about nutrition, we'll talk about that in just a second, because I think that's important to know.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about how, because I know you work with various groups that are my age and older,
Mm-hmm.
and how is it you approach a senior versus, say, a person who's in their 30s?
So first of all, as you get older, you have fear of injury, you have fear of falling, and you have all these things. So I like to assess where you are, and based on how you're moving, I kind of know what you need. However, we have to be on the same page. And
Right.
if you're afraid, it's like, oh, this guy's going to kill me, but so that's going to keep you from performing the way you need to. And there's going to be some things I'm going to ask you to do, not at the very beginning, but down the road that's going to be a little bit challenging to you. So, I have to establish that relationship of trust so that when I'm asking you to do something that's a little scary, you're like, okay, this is a little scary, but he's been good so far, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think that's true. I mean, when we first started getting together, there's the stretching that I do on the floors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my getting down onto the ground and getting up off the ground, I would say it was apprehensive because I was worried about falling. I was just unstable because I hadn't done it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one, and it seems very small, but that's one thing I've noticed is that my agility for getting up and getting down, while it's certainly not a jump up like after getting tackled kind of a thing,
Right.
it's definitely improved quite a bit. When my wife asked me, what are you getting out of it? I said, I can get up off the floor a lot easier. And she laughed. Is that it? I said, no, there's a lot more. But that was a significant thing that I noticed for me.
Right. And in order to be functionally independent, that's one of the things that you have to be really good at is getting on and off the floor without using equipment.
Right.
And so for most of your life, especially if you're an athlete, that was a movement pattern that you had mastered really well. So once you learn the movement pattern, it's always there. You don't lose it. So it's like riding a bike. You may be wobbly when you get back on, but eventually if you do it enough,
Right.
your body will pick it back up.
Yeah, and because you've improved strength in places you weren't expecting to, the stability is there because you're not feeling like your body can't hold you.
Exactly.
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
it's more of a, with those functional things, it's definitely a use it or lose it type of thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so many people, me included, have been sedentary.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of my clients are not only sedentary, they're isolated. And so,
Right.
Even if I said this to, I can't remember who it was, I have a friend of mine who has health challenges, and I said to her, listen, if all you do right now for the next month is finish your meal no later than 7:30, 8 o'clock, if you can get it closer to like 5, I think is a good thing. Leave your house, go out the front door, turn left, walk around the block, and then come back. And at that time, you ascertain, hey, could I do it again? And you do it again. You do your best to get that walking in, because that changes how your body physiologically is going to address what you just ate and
Right.
kind of other things. So share some of that with me, because I think that's important for people to know who are basically couch potatoes at the moment.
Right, and this is, I have a lot of conversations about this. So one of my favorite things is eat a meal, have a little brief walk afterwards. It can be up to 10 minutes, and then for those that are challenged on distance, it's like walk outside, walk down to your mailbox, walk to the end of your driveway.
Just start.
And you have to just start somewhere. And the idea is, obviously you're going to be safe with that and everything else, but the idea is that once you start doing that habit, it starts to build over time. So now you're like, oh, okay, so I can get to my driveway pretty well. We'll go down a little bit farther.
Yep.
And then after a while, you just gradually start building your distance.
Yeah, I think that's great. And just remember this, everybody, it's just not about perfection. It's
Right.
about progress. If you just progress a little bit, maybe 1%, by the end of the year, just imagine what you'd be if you progressed
Exactly.
1% a day. Just one.
Yep.
And we're not talking about 20, 30 doubling, just 1%. You get out and you walk 50 yards today, and maybe you walk 55 tomorrow.
Right.
Or less. You walk 51. The point is, or you do it 3 days in a row. That's progress because you're
Right.
used to sitting on your butt.
Exactly right. Yep. And it's so important to get the movement just started.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you can do. People sometimes are a little bit nervous about walking outside because of the ground's uneven or they're by themselves. So, walking in your house and basically just making sure that you are tying your activity to something that you do on a regular basis. So brushing your teeth, you go for a walk in the morning, you eat lunch, you go
Yep.
for a walk. And all those things will basically build over time.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot because I'm a big fan of James Clear, who wrote the book Atomic Habits, right? So it's you have habits already. Now it's just a matter of saying, okay, if this habit is here already in place, what can I put on top? So by stacking that habit, I know that I'm going to do this, and immediately I just move into the next habit, and then immediately move into the next habit.
Right.
We do that already unconsciously. Like we eat dinner, find a couch, turn on the TV. That's a habit for many people.
Exactly right.
So
Yeah.
you're just saying, okay, I'm going to replace or at least intervene the one habit of walking in between my couch and TV, but I'm going to do that there. Now, what are your thoughts about having like treadmills or ellipticals in people's houses? Because I usually go into people's houses and they look like clothing hangers.
So I like those pieces of equipment, especially on days when the weather's not good. So we live in Vegas, it may be 115 degrees, not a good time to go walking.
Unless you're really hydrated up, I guess, right?
Right, and sunscreened up with big hats and
Yep.
everything else. So, so I like those equipment because again, you're getting something in. You still need more than just the cardio part.
Yeah,
And for
you got to
most-
work the actual muscle.
Right, and for most of us that are over 70, we have to really focus on strengthening because what happens over time is as your strength starts to decline, you start to lose power. And when you lose power, you lose the ability to walk up and down the stairs, get on and off the floor, and now just functional mobility becomes an issue.
Sure, I think at that point too, when you start losing some of that power, you also start creating a lack of stability because you don't feel confident enough in yourself.
Exactly.
And as a result, that's what creates the uneasiness because you're worried and nervous and jerky about it, and all of a sudden you're spazzing out about something you really shouldn't be spazzing out about if you just took care of it. And just understand this for everybody who's watching this, and especially my family. I'm not here turning into the guy who's proselytizing that everybody needs to become like Mr. Fit, but I do understand that it's an important part of our age that we take care of this vessel if we want to be a little bit longer. Had I been more smart about this younger, I would have started it sooner. But here's the cool part is now that we're connected, I find that and let's just be honest with everybody, we've been doing it short enough time yet. The only part that I'm looking forward to right now is hanging out with you. The actual exercise part, I haven't gotten there yet. I do really enjoy the stretches because I do those at home now, just because that's how I start my day. It just makes me feel good, gets my blood going before I have my coffee. But I'm bringing this up because I think, again, I know human nature, being a business person for however long. I've been in real estate for 38 years. The whole thoughts around coaching and training people. I learned this about myself, and I think I learned it about other people. Unless you have somebody waiting for you, either at the gym, at the park, at your front door, in their car, you will likely make an excuse as to why you don't want to do it.
Right.
And so I say that if you're, for some reason, you keep promising yourself you're going to go to the gym, or you keep promising yourself you're going to go walk around the park, find a way to get somebody else included. I suggested a trainer, and if you can't do that or you feel like you can't afford him, by the way, he's very affordable. Not that he's cheap, but he's affordable, especially for the value you get. And I think that's important to know because there's plenty of people out there who go, yeah, let's go work out, but they're not really teaching you. Andre teaches, but I say find a person that you can be accountable to. So you are less likely to get up out of bed and go, yeah, I don't want to go, and then not go.
Right.
Which is not the thing. And then when you're there, have somebody hold you accountable to doing the things you need to do. Andre has a great app. I just go in there, open it up, put in my stuff, and he's got workouts all set. So if for some reason we're not going to be hanging out for whatever reason, it's not on a day, but I still need to go to the gym, I just open it up, start the exercise, it lists them all, and it tells me what I did previously, so I know where I left off, which is very helpful.
Right, and then and you hit the nail on the head. So basically, when you're first training, you want to get in and have that experience be pleasant. So
Yeah.
I don't really focus too much on exercise intensity as much as just getting in, getting a feel for the equipment, and most importantly, being comfortable.
Yeah, and you're not standing there going, "Roo." Oh God, those guys are weird, and I couldn't hang out with people like that.
Yeah, it can be. Now, there are certain times when that's the type of training you want.
Yeah.
But for the average person, you just want to get in, and my goal is for you to be comfortable. That's why I love using the app, because on the days when we're not training, you open the app, there's an exercises if you want to click on the video if you don't remember how the exercise
Yep.
looks. And so now you're getting a chance to do some things on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the exercises you're like, yeah, that leg press, I feel that in my knees a lot. And
Mhm.
so now instead of avoiding it, now we can go in and say, okay, so why are you feeling it in your knees? And it's usually a very easy correction. It's like, wow, why didn't I think of that? And it's like,
Because you're not the trainer. They aren't the trainer.
it's like, so that's that habit. And I always like to talk about us having two brains. So you have your cognitive brain that says what, and then you have the reflex between your spinal cord and your muscles that says how. So
Right.
the how is your habit. So
Yeah.
again, going back to stacking habits, now when I go walking, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna eat a meal, then I'm gonna go for a walk. So now your body gets in the habit of having that little bit of assistance with processing the food.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
now,
good.
And now when I get my body functioning better in that way, it kind of wants to keep doing that. It feels good. And
Yeah.
so from there, now you can start breaking into those 5,000 reps that you need in order for that movement pattern to become automatic, so that when your brain says what and your body says how, it's actually the same thing.
Yeah, it's working together. And the cool part about that is, and this is just going back to my understanding about psychology and how people's brains think, that regardless of the size of the commitment or goal, when you keep that goal or commitment, you're rewarded with an endorphin in your brain saying, you did a good job. Now, the hard part is for people is many of us are addicted to the dopamine of the negativity that comes from not doing it, or the drama that's created by certain things. And so we have to choose, do we want to be addicted to the dopamine of the lack of performance and the lack of keeping commitments and the drama that comes from that, or do we want to be addicted to the endorphins for the reward of doing the good job? And that's trouble for many people.
Exactly. And one of the cool things with dopamine is you can get an increase from just deciding to do something that's good for you. So you're sitting on the couch and you're like, I can have this little chocolate donut and watch a little TV. I really should go to the gym. And then you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go to the gym. I don't feel like it, but I'm going to go.
Oh yeah, bing.
And once you walk in the door, it doesn't even matter what you do at that point, because it's a win that you got up off the couch and went to the gym.
Oh yeah. Well, and because people 8 times out of 10 will do things to avoid a pain versus going towards a pleasure, it's real easy to say, well, gym can be painful. I mean, we joked yesterday when I was at the gym, and we yesterday was leg day for me, right? And I said, oh, you're going to give me a couple of noodles today, because when I leave there, while my joints don't hurt, certainly I use my legs like I'm not using them consistently. And of course, yeah, I feel a little noodly going out. And I laughed about it when I came here. They said, what'd you do? I said, I went and created 2 noodles on my legs. And they said, oh, at the gym, huh? And I said, yeah, leg day. I said, but it's a good thing. I feel good about it.
Right.
And I know eventually that'll get to the place where my body is starting to look forward to it, as opposed to saying, okay, I've got to do it. Intellectually, I make the choice now.
Right.
In the future, it'll be such a habit that it'll feel weird when I'm not doing it. And that's what I want.
Exactly. And then that, that becomes that habit where now it becomes like brushing your teeth. It's like, yeah, I feel weird if I don't go.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. So I would love, I think, and we talked about this, You guys watch the screen, watch your emails. Well, Andre and I are putting something together where we'll probably gather a bunch of you guys in a big room. We'll teach you a few exercises that you can do. You'll get to meet him and see that he's as kind and soft-spoken as he is showing off here, and certainly more knowledgeable than I'm giving him credit for. And you'll get to meet him. They will probably also have a person talking about meditation, which I think is a real part of this, because I meditate every day. And it's not for hours. I meditate for about 15 minutes. And I have an affirmation that I start it with, and I have a system. It's just doing a little bit of it for having the peacefulness, being mindfulness at the moment, right? And then we'll also have probably either Andre will do it, or we'll have another person who is just going to be all about things you can do as a senior that relate to very specific dietary things that will make a difference. And I think all of those things together can change lives.
Absolutely.
And if you can do some of these things and get yourself another, 3 to 5 years because you were purposeful, what a great challenge. What a great opportunity.
Yeah, it is so important as far as that level of comfort to basically create the habits that you need to be healthy. And then on the other side of that, a lot of us want to be a little bit leaner and that sort of thing. So all of my fat burning happens when my brain is relaxed.
Really?
So when I'm comfortable and I'm moving well, meditation certainly helps with that. So basically you're getting the side of your system that is responsible for calming you down. That's going to actually be where your fat burning happens.
That is cool to know. I had no idea about that. That's pretty awesome.
And then when you're in the fight or flight side, which everyone is familiar with, that's a sugar burning system. And that can also be a system that creates inflammation.
Oh, wow.
So again, this is where when we're exercising, I want you to be comfortable and not fearful. And I want you to kind of get to the point where you have command of the gym. So now when you go in, you have your exercises you're going to do, you're comfortable. And then from there, when you get to that level of comfort, now you start looking at the weight and it's like, when I started, I was only doing 60, now I'm doing 80. I wonder what it's like to do 100. And then from there, you just organically start working harder on your own because you're choosing to, because you feel comfortable. Not being forced to do it and that sort of thing. So
yeah, that's fantastic. And that's where I refer this, there's a book out there, it's called The Gap in the Gain. And I can't remember who wrote it, but it's a great book, Gap in the Gain. And I say this, and it's written, I think, in the context of business and stuff. But what happens is we all too often give up because we don't think we're getting the result that we want. And part of that is let's say it's weight loss. Well, people are weighing themselves every day, multiple times during the day. You did not put that crap on in 24 hours. You're not going to take it off in 24 hours. I weigh myself once a week, Monday mornings when I get up at 5 a.m. That's what I'm doing. And I write it down because everything that's tracked gets managed well, right? You're going to do it. Don't do that. Don't over that. Don't go crazy, and don't obsess about what you're not gotten. Leverage the mindset that says, I may not be here where I want to be, but I'm certainly better than where I was last week.
Exactly. And it's celebrating those little victories, whatever they are, that helps keep you going. Because one of my favorite things, I was working with a client and she wants to lose 30 pounds. And one of the things we talked about was, it's like, so you can't really lose 30 pounds. She goes, what do you mean? And it's like, so a lot of people think it's going to be this very straight weight loss thing. And it's like, so you lose the 30 pounds through an accumulation of your daily habits.
Yep.
And it's like, so you do these little things every day that are seemingly nothing. So one of my favorite things that you said was, now when I get on and off the floor, it's easier. So now when I'm using that energy system, instead of having to use a bunch of sugar because it's hard, now I'm using fat because it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's all the little things that you don't really notice from day to day. And then, if you had seen somebody that you hadn't seen in 3 months, they look at you and go, wow, what have you been doing?
I had somebody do that the other day.
Yeah.
You look great. And frankly, I've only probably lost, since we worked here, I think close to 15 pounds. But it's not the weight. I think what it is my energy is a different kind of energy, right? And I'm feeling more confident because I'm accomplishing goals. Those are the things that I think change the aura and the energy of somebody, that somebody interprets as looking different. But really, it's an energy that they're feeling that's different.
Right, and then, the quality of your movement goes a long ways towards that. So now when you're getting around easier, it looks smoother, and then your energy is different because it's a more relaxed, calm, confident energy versus, you're kind of sweating and kind of limping and that sort of thing. So,
yeah, definitely a lot more confident energy, I think, and less worried and nervous energy about compensating for something that you think you need to compensate for that you might not need to if you were to attend to it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. So as we wrap this up, Andre, what would you recommend or what would you want to share with anybody, I think, that we didn't talk about that you think that they need to know moving forward that would be helpful? And I know that's a really broad question, so kind of laser focus it on something that might be people who are over, 65-ish.
Okay, so I actually have a small group of ladies that I train, and there's usually 5 or 6 of them, and so we got on the topic of hydration today. It's like, so hydration is super important because your body needs water to function well. So your brain needs water, your muscles and all those things, your joints all need water available so that they can function properly. And that the hydration is more than just how much water you're drinking, but how hydrated you are. So how much electrolytes you're taking in, The main ones are sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and all the things that you see on commercials now. So the idea is that you want to have that balance so that you have the water moving into the cells and staying there, and then that helps you function better.
So instead of drinking just straight water, we should be drinking electrolyte fortified water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then as a physical therapist, we had a lot of people that have had issues with falls and having surgery and that sort of thing. They almost always happen at night. So I'm getting up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. So you're dehydrated because you've been sleeping. And now your brain and your balance is a little bit off because you're dehydrated and it's dark and you're half asleep and it's the middle of the night. So now you don't have good rotation stability, and that's when issues happen. So now just really get in the habit of making sure that you're hydrated, and that to me is the number one thing.
Yeah. Well, and I know that there's plenty of my clients and people out there who say, well, I'm a little older, had some kids, I might suffer from a little incontinence. I get that, and it's not a fun topic to talk about. But what at least from my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're drinking water properly, the kind of water you should be drinking, you're nutritionally being more sound than not, and you're working your body, that becomes less of an issue because your body is using more of what you're putting into it.
Yes, exactly. And then the other part of the whole incontinence thing is that that's a sign of a loss of strength.
Right.
So your core is no longer stable, and now things are not working the way they're supposed to be.
And then something can be done with that you're working out and taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, great. Well, this has been super helpful. I trust that everybody out there thought the same. By all means, we're going to publish your information. We're going to, the event should be announced right at the end of this, and make sure you come. And make sure you come with a list of questions. Make sure you come with an attitude that says, I'm going to learn something different, because I think, honestly, they will get a lot out of it. And frankly, if you don't want to wait for that, just call him up and hire him, because I think he does a great job.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you for joining me today on the Living Well, Aging Smart podcast for seniors, where it's never too late to take control of your life and the next step of aging with clarity and confidence in community. If today's episode brought questions up for you, or you have concerns about your next steps or transitions, or just about my guests, feel free to reach out. I'm available by phone, 702-303-0040. You can go to my website, seniorassistanceteam.com, or you can click the link in the description and just schedule a 15-minute call with me at no charge. Just feel free to click and schedule a call, and I'll call you at that time. Just make sure that if you get value here, that you subscribe, that you leave a review or a comment, and share it with your family or friends you think would benefit from this issue or others that we discuss here on the podcast. These are people you care about. Now, until the next time, please stay safe, stay smart, live well, age smart. Hope to see you soon.